Hi there. Hope you're doing great. I am, despite the very heavy thing that's on my mind, the very heavy thing that I want to talk about. So I know when we say grief, mostly we think about death. And that makes sense because I think it's like the heaviest hit of grief that most people have experienced. And I know some people have not experienced death near them, but grief comes in different ways. It's like when you lose a friendship or another relationship, like we grieve so many things that we lose. Heck, if I lose my keys, I'm in a kind of grief. So grief, comes in different ways, but personally, I think the one that hit me the hardest, of course, it's the one that is so final, and that's death. And I lost people close to me really rather early in life. So, I had that early experience with grief from death, and it's so painful because it's so final. If you lose a friendship, let's say, at the very least, the person is okay, whatever. But this one, it's just gone. That communication is ended, and you don't get a chance to say goodbye, and you don't get fair warning sometimes. It's so sudden and final and brutal. For me, death is the biggest grief. So I had that experience quite early when I lost my brother. So I guess what put me in this grief mindset is because quite recently I took a train down memory lane. It was the 22nd year after my brother died, and I know it sounds like a long time, and it is a long time, and that was what made me I was just thinking of life and death and grief and everything, just the inviolability of it. And I know we don't want to hear this, right? Trust me, I've been there. My brother is not the only person I've lost. Over the years, I've lost a lot of people, and it hit me, and you don't get used to it, and it doesn't get easier. It's brutal. So, right, I've lost people, like a final kind of losing. And I know because I felt it. Like when you lose a person, it hurts so much, but guess what? You feel like, I don't want to let go of this hurt, because it comes with so many things. Usually there's some sort of guilt. No matter how good things are, your mind finds something that you could have done better, and it focuses on it, and now you're grieving, but there's also guilt. There's that when you pass that stage. It's like, if somebody I love so much is dead, the least I can do is feel some pain. Do you get what I mean? It's like you kind of invite and enjoy and I would say appreciate the pain that you're feeling, because it's like if they're gone completely from this world, they're under the earth somewhere alone, the least I could do is feel pain. So you welcome the pain, and you don't want it to go ever. So trust me, we don't want to hear this, and I completely understand, but I'm gonna say something that you might hate me for. Because people say grief never goes, but it never gets better. It never goes, yes, but it gets better. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. And if somebody told me this while I was grieving, I would want to smack them in the face. Because like I said, there's a part of you that doesn't even want it to go, because you feel like, he's gone, she's gone, the least I could do is feel pain. But yeah, it gets better. I know we don't want to hear it, we don't want to believe it, and that's okay. But I'm saying this because I had 22 years to look back, you know what I mean? There's someone I lost there's someone I lost after that. I've lost a number of people after that, so many years intervals, and it hurt afresh, and I felt these feelings afresh. I felt the guilt for my brother. The day he died, I was in a hurry. We were always running late for school, and I rushed out, and then I remembered I wasn't holding my socks, which I was holding a second ago, and everybody was yelling at me and the traffic was gonna be bad, and just, you know, hectic morning, and he was ill, and he was laying, I'll never forget, in the living room just looking at us. And you know, I wanted to say goodbye to him, but in that rush of going back to get my stock, I didn't say goodbye. And I remember it haunted me for a long time. That not saying goodbye to him, it haunted me and it killed me. And so I welcomed the pain that I felt. Like, you know, it was like a way of punishing myself. So anyway, there was guilt then. When I lost a very, very good friend of mine, years later, there was guilt because, again, it was on my mind to call her. I didn't, and next I heard that she was dead. You know, your mind will find something to make you feel guilty about, and you don't want it to even feel better. But I promise you it gets better. Now, when? I don't know. My brother has been dead 22 years. The last time I cried was 10 years later, before now. So, you know, it was always, I would cry whenever I remembered it. It went on, but after the 10th year, the tears stopped. Now we talk about it and we're laughing. Literally, we're laughing. And that's the thing. It gets better, but it's not like this. And when it gets better, it doesn't send you a text like, oh, I've gotten better. It's just happening in the background. It's a beautiful and not so beautiful thing, how forgetful we are as human beings. So you'll notice with time, the memories are getting eroded. Today you remember it, tomorrow you're trying to remember it, and it's gone. There's nothing you can do. We're humans. That's how our brains work. Now, the good thing is, kind of, that erosion of our memories also erodes the hurt and the pain and the grief. Today you're crying like you're gonna give out. Tomorrow you're crying less. Next week you're smiling. 5 years later you're talking about it and you're literally laughing. 22 years later, I did cry, which is what I mean. The grief never goes, but it gets better because I haven't cried about it in 12 years. Imagine, you know. And I remember I was trying to remember some of the things we did. I was a very lively child. It was me, then my other brother, then him. So there was quite a gap between us, but when it was playtime, I didn't care. I was never even the seniority type. We all played together, like our lives depended on it. So I was trying to remember a certain memory. There was a time we were doing rough play and I broke my mouth. Like I broke my lip proper. There was blood everywhere. It got swollen. And I remember it was part of it. Now, it was such a distinct memory because of the breaking of my mouth. But I was trying to remember it now and I couldn't remember. You know, where was he? What did he sound like? I remember his voice, but you know what I mean? It's eroding. It's eroding, whether or not we like it. And it's sad because you want to hold on to it because it's like, that's all I have left. You know, I have pictures, but the memories, those are mine. And you want to hold on to it, but you can't because that's how we're created. It's sad on that part, but on the other part, the erosion is why you can go a whole month. I can go a whole month without thinking about my brother now. When he died, I would have sworn to you, you know, in the middle of that pain, I could never. It's not that I forgot about him, but the memories get eroded. So does the pain. Because it doesn't hurt so much, it's not on your mind so much. I can easily go a whole month without thinking about my brother. Easily, more. But the first time that happens, you catch yourself, it's like, oh my God, no, you feel like a traitor. You're like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry I went one day without thinking about you. Again, time, right? There was a time I used to feel that, but now, if I think like now, like I haven't thought about him in weeks, it's like, it's fine, it's okay. Because life does move on. So I know we don't want to hear it, but grief does get better. And I don't know how to tell you. Like I said, I cried for about 10 years. Not consistently every day, but you know what I mean? Every year, especially on the day that he died, I would remember and I would be in tears. After the 10th year, I didn't cry anymore. No more tears, just laughs and memories. And so I don't know how to tell you. I knew him for a total of 4 years. it took me 10 years to stop crying. So I don't know, of course there's no formula, but I'm just saying, do you understand? I think if I lost somebody that I knew longer, obviously it would take longer. But nonetheless, like, it will reach a point, because that's the thing about life. Whether or not you want it to go on, it does go on. It must go on. So you would resist it and you would resist it, but things will come and take over, and there will be crises to handle, emergencies. Hell, they would be fun to have. And trust me, the more these things fill up your life, the more that memory gets moved to the back, to the back, to the background. And again, you don't want it to happen, but that's how we were made. It happens. So I'm always talking about death. Some of my friends say it's morbid, but that's me. I guess I have a very realistic take on death. We're gonna die, so why are we running from it? Why don't we want to talk about it? Why don't you have a will as an adult? So I do all these things. I bought the shred that, you know, my corpse will hopefully be covered with, even though it's not with me right now. But I just mean, I like being realistic about death. So I was in that mood when it was 22 years after his death. So I decided to take a walk to the cemetery close to me. I always pass it on my way to work. So one day I just stopped. It was raining and I felt like, Miriam, just go home. It's raining. You're not supposed to. But I'm like, no, I made up my mind. I got a little drenched, but it was okay. So I went in the cemetery and I said the prayer for entering the cemetery, and I started crying just because, you know, just the words of the prayer. As a Muslim, when you say the prayer, it says something like, you know, peace be upon you. And you say other things, I cannot remember the meanings, but it ends with something like, until we join you, because that's our fate. So just from saying the prayers, I just started crying. But you know, I just wanted to be there. I've always, and I will go again. You know, I like grounding myself, you know. I don't like forgetting about my mortality at all. So it was a very, very humbling experience. I got the grounding that I really wanted. I walked through, I just was looking at the gravestones, the headstones rather, and some had pictures, some had fresh flowers. I got really emotional because, you know, some of the dates when they died, it was like years ago, but they were still getting fresh flowers, and I was like, that is just so precious, you know, like people didn't forget you, they're still coming to see you. That must be nice. I looked at the dates, I was calculating, I was just trying to picture what their lives were. This one was a nurse, this one was an accountant, this one had children, this one didn't. Some were really fresh, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, this was recent. I saw some all the way back to 1920s. And of course, for those, they were mostly in disrepair, because I'm guessing even their, you know, heirs are probably dead. Nobody to check. And then there was one that was from a very long time ago, but it was newly made up and done up. It was this black slab. It was beautiful. So I really took my time. I just went through the rows and I was just trying to make sense of it. Because there were earlier ones when you come in, and then later ones. And then I went to the other side, and it was so lively. And I didn't realize it was the children's section. So there were balloons and you know, that little cute thing, wing vane, but the fun type. It was just so, you know, and I was trying to make sense of it. I think some people still bury ashes because some were not the full size of, not the children's section, the adult section. Some, it was just not the full size of a body. And then I wondered, maybe there was no body. I just had so many, it was like, I really took my time. It was a great experience. I would highly recommend. I know it sounds crazy, but so the children's section, it tore me. It tore me apart. It was, you know, some put in a lot of information, like, and I did the math, like, because they would say born this, died this, and I was doing the math, and there were some who lived 7 years, some lived 2 years. There was one that lived exactly 1 month, like exactly. And there was one that lived 1 week. There was one that lived 2 days, and I was just really trying to imagine what it was like for the parents, the loved ones. I mean, you get so attached and then just poof. And one really, really stood out for me. I don't remember the name now, not that I would say it, but you know, they said, and I did the math, this child was alive for only 1 week. They said your stay was short but tortured, and that broke me. Do you understand what it must mean, what that kid must have gone, that baby must have gone through in 1 week for the parents to describe it as tortured? And it was raining, I couldn't even sit. But yeah, it was sobering, and it was exactly the grounding that I just wanted. You know, sometimes you feel like you're just floating up in the clouds and you just want to get grounded, and it really did that for me. And I definitely will make it a habit. I don't know when I'm going back, but I will go back, inshallah. Like, it's not a feeling I want to lose. And I remember I said the prayer again in the children's section, and I said to them, look, the world is so miserable. You guys, I promise you, you're not missing anything. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm happy you left, but I know you're in a much, 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 much better place than what it is out here. It's brutal out here. It's pretty wretched. So, you know, I said that in between sobs because I just, yeah, I was just, yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about grief. It's painful, but it gets better. I know sometimes we don't want to hear it, but sometimes maybe we need to hear it. Maybe it's reassuring. I got to that point. I didn't want it to get better. But looking back now, it's not so bad that it got better. Like, I'm glad that every day I don't wake up and cry about all the people I've lost, because I would be so miserable. I wouldn't be able to do anything, but that's the thing. Life doesn't wait for you, it goes on. So I'm just saying, I'm grateful. I'm not rushing you if you're grieving, but I'm just saying I'm grateful that I've gotten to the point where life goes on, and when the memories come up, I don't run from them. If I feel like crying, I cry. I lost a friend years back, and so most of the time when I remember her, I cry, and I welcome it, you know, when it comes. Though I still dream about her, and I'm so happy when I dream about her. It's like all these years and you're somewhere in my subconscious. I wake up crying always, but I'm so happy because I remember the last time I dreamed about her, we were catching up. Like, she was telling me about her life and she was doing so well, and I was telling her like I'm a bum. Like, yeah, but I woke up so happy. So I deal with it when it comes, but I'm grateful that, you know, I'm not immersed in grief every day. So I'm just saying, if you're in any process in the grief thing, it gets better. It's just really slow, but I swear it will get better. And you won't be happy about it at first, but one day you will be. So solidarity to you. Hang in there. Bye.